One of the UK's leading oil businessmen says he cannot understand a decision by the UK government not to back a carbon capture facility in Scotland. Yesterday it was announced that the Acorn project at St Fergus would not get the backing to be ready by the mid-2020s.
Today, Sir Ian Wood said he was disappointed by the decision, and he says he believes it will be politically unhelpful for the Westminster government, as Stephen Brown reports.
The North East has been built on the back of oil for decades, but it's a region hoping to change as the country moves to a greener future. But yesterday's decision by the UK government not to give the backing to a carbon capture project at St Fergus has been seen as a major blow. Instead, it backed two projects in the north of England. It's a move that has frustrated one of the country's most successful oil businessmen.
The present government did really well in the last election with a strong support from the north of England generally. That might have had some impact, but to set off against that, I mean, they've got a real concern about what happens in Scotland, and I mean, this decision from a political point of view is extremely unhelpful.
Climate protests have ramped up in recent months as the country prepares to host COP in just a few weeks' time. But today the SNP accused the Conservatives of breaking a political promise.
We know this decision wasn't made on technical or logical grounds. This devastating decision was purely political. Scotland's North East was promised this investment in 2014. It is a promise that has been broken time and time again.
I know that there was disappointment about the Acorn bid in Aberdeen, and that's why it has been selected as a reserve cluster, Mr Speaker, but there could be no more vivid testimony to this government's commitment to Scotland, or indeed to fighting climate change, that the whole world is about to come to Scotland, Mr Speaker, to look at what Scotland is doing to help tackle climate change, and I congratulate the people of Scotland on their efforts.
There's been a lot of talk around a just transition, moving jobs that have traditionally been in the oil and gas industry into new technologies, including carbon capture. And those behind the project at St Fergus say it could support more than 20,000 jobs. The Acorn project, according to those behind it, will still go ahead and is a reserve in the current round of bids. Experts say carbon capture is vital in reducing our emissions.
If you look at the IPCC kind of special reports on global warming, so to keep to that kind of 1.5 degrees C, CCUS, so carbon capture, utilisation and storage is in there as a kind of critical technology to help us meet those targets and to bridge that gap. So I guess it's a way of, you know, allowing us to transition in a way that doesn't stop the economy and, you know, we have to switch the lights off.
This is a setback. It's an annoying setback, which frankly didn't need to happen. In my opinion, it's happened for the wrong reasons. It should be an absolute dead cert for the second phase. Having said that, in terms of catching up on carbon capture, which is what we need to do, we should be doing it now.
In the shadow of COP, this has become a fresh political storm. Not just about how we get our energy, but over who, where and when those involved will feel the economic benefit too. Stephen Brown, STV News.
Well, live now to our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson. And Catherine, the repercussions of this decision are still being felt.
Yeah, look, I think this was an obvious choice of story for the SNP to run with at Prime Minister's questions today, not least because it has been an uncomfortable story for so many of their rivals in the Scottish Conservatives, especially those who represent North East seats. Now, Ian Blackford today was struggling with his voice. He was told by the Prime Minister to be less gloomy about this. But look, the Prime Minister has faced some very vocal opposition from those who would say, look, this is a political decision, this is part of the Conservatives' plans to level up parts of the north of England, and that is coming at a cost to Scotland. Now, Boris Johnson would deny that. He says Scotland's bid still has strong potential. And earlier today, the Business Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, actually said the Acorn site would be developed in the next few years, but there was no clarity on when that second track of announcements could be made.
All right, Catherine, thanks very much.
There have been clashes at Prime Minister's questions over the UK government's decision not to select a carbon capture and storage facility in Aberdeen for funding. The SNP's Westminster leader Ian Blackford said it was a devastating blow to the renewable energy sector in Scotland ahead of next month's COP26 summit in Glasgow. Boris Johnson said the UK government was absolutely committed to helping industry decarbonise.